She was 23 years old, a young mother, walking her dog on a sunny July morning in one of London's most popular parks. Her 2-year-old son was beside her. Within minutes, she was dead, stabbed 49 times. And the only witness to her murder was her toddler son, who was later found by a stranger clinging to her blood-soaked body, repeating the same 2 words over and over. "Wake up, mummy." This is the story of Rachel Nickell, the murder that broke Britain, and the investigation that almost broke justice itself. July 15th, 1992. Wimbledon Common, southwest London. It was a Wednesday morning. Warm, sunny, ordinary. Rachel Nickell was 23 years old, a part-time model, a devoted mother, known by everyone who met her for her warmth, her smile, and her love for her family. That morning, she did what she did every day. She took her son Alex, just 2 years old, and their dog Molly for a walk on Wimbledon Common. The Common was considered one of the safest places in London. Hundreds of people walked there every day. Families, dog walkers, joggers. Rachel had no reason to be afraid. At approximately 10:20 a.m., she was attacked. A man appeared from the trees. He dragged Rachel off the path into a more secluded area of the Common. He sexually assaulted her. Then he stabbed her 49 times. The wounds were so violent that she was almost decapitated. Rachel Nickell died where she fell. Little Alex was beside her the entire time, physically unhurt. But what he witnessed in those moments would stay with him for the rest of his life. A dog walker discovered them minutes later. She found Alex sitting beside his mother's body, pressing a piece of paper against her wounds, as if trying to help her, and repeating over and over, "Wake up, mummy, wake up." The news spread across Britain within hours. The brutality of the attack, the location, a public park in broad daylight, the image of a 2-year-old boy beside his murdered mother. The country was horrified and furious. The pressure on the Metropolitan Police was immediate and enormous. Find him now. The investigation began. Hundreds of tip-offs flooded in. Police combed the Common for evidence. Witnesses were interviewed. And very quickly, investigators focused on one man, Colin Stagg, a 29-year-old local man who walked his dog on the Common every day. He was quiet, socially awkward. He lived alone. He fit a profile. And in the months that followed, the police decided, with very little evidence, that Colin Stagg was their man. What happened next became one of the most controversial operations in the history of British policing. With no forensic evidence linking Stagg to the murder, police launched an undercover operation. They called it Operation Edzell. A female police officer, using the fake name Lizzie James, began writing letters to Colin Stagg. She built a relationship with him over months. She told him she was attracted to violent men. She encouraged him to confess. She pushed and pushed and pushed. Colin Stagg never confessed to killing Rachel Nickell, not once. But police arrested him anyway. In September 1994, Colin Stagg stood trial at the Old Bailey. The judge took one look at the evidence. He threw the case out. He called Operation Edzell a deceptive conduct of the grossest kind. Colin Stagg was acquitted. He had spent 13 months in prison for a murder he did not commit. And the real killer was still out there. Here is the part of this story that goes from horrifying to unforgivable. While police were building their case against Colin Stagg, while they were running their undercover operation, the real killer was attacking other women. His name was Robert Napper, and he was already known to police. In 1992, the same year Rachel was murdered, a woman had called police to report that her son, Robert Napper, had confessed to rape. Police filed the report and did nothing. In 1992, another woman reported being raped by Napper. Police investigated and linked him to other attacks, but nobody connected him to Wimbledon Common because they were too focused on Colin Stagg. Between 1992 and 1994, Robert Napper murdered again. Samantha Bissett, 27 years old, and her 4-year-old daughter Jasmine, murdered in their own home in South London. Napper was caught for those murders. He was found to be suffering from severe paranoid schizophrenia. He was sent to Broadmoor, Britain's most secure psychiatric facility, not convicted of Rachel Nickell's murder, just locked away for 16 years. Rachel's case remained officially unsolved. Colin Stagg, the innocent man, lived under the shadow of suspicion, followed by the press, treated with hostility by strangers who believed he was guilty. He lost jobs. He lost relationships. His life was destroyed by a murder he had nothing to do with. Then in 2004, a cold case review team reopened Rachel's case. They had new technology, new forensic techniques. They went back to the evidence, and they found something. DNA. DNA that matched Robert Napper, the man who had been sitting in Broadmoor for a decade, the man whose name had appeared in police files as far back as 1992, the man they had never properly investigated because they were so certain it was someone else. In December 2008, Robert Napper appeared at the Old Bailey. 16 years after Rachel's murder, he pleaded guilty to manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. He was ordered to remain in Broadmoor indefinitely. There was no trial, no full reckoning in a courtroom, just a guilty plea and a door closing. Outside the court, Rachel's family made a statement. Her son Alex, now 18 years old, spoke publicly for the first time about his mother. He said he had no memory of that morning, but he had grown up carrying its weight every day of his life. Colin Stagg received a formal apology from the Metropolitan Police. He was awarded compensation, an apology and a check for 13 months in prison, for years of public suspicion, for a life upended by an investigation that was catastrophically, inexcusably wrong. The story of Rachel Nickell is not just the story of a brutal murder, it is the story of what happens when a police force becomes so convinced of something that it stops looking for the truth, when tunnel vision replaces investigation, when an innocent man becomes a convenient answer, and when a real killer walks free for 16 years because nobody was looking for him. Rachel Nickell was 23 years old. She deserved to come home from that walk. Her son deserved to grow up with his mother. Colin Stagg deserved to live his life without becoming the face of a crime he never committed. And Robert Napper should have been stopped years earlier. The evidence was there. The warnings were there. But nobody connected the dots until it was far too late. In June 2026, Netflix released 2 projects about this case simultaneously. The world is watching again, asking the same questions that should have been asked in 1992. How did this happen? How was it allowed to happen? And what does justice really mean when it takes 16 years to arrive? If this story shook you, if it should, subscribe to Cold Trails, because every week we follow the cases where justice lost its way, the trails that went cold, but never disappeared. I will see you in the dark.